What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me. Snowball Gate. I'm sure you've seen the footage of our cops being pelted with ice and snow, and you've also seen the commie mayor's reaction, downplaying it, claiming it was nothing more than a simple snowball fight. We're going to go through it next, and I'm also going to show you what it was like to work under real leadership. I'm going to contrast how the chiefs handled riots back when I was on the job and compare them to the woke soy boys we have in charge today. If you're on the job or if you have family members who are on the job, this video is not only going to piss you off, but it's also going to break your heart. We're going to go through it next. All right, let's get into it. You tell me if this looks like a snowball fight.
Revelers of all ages showed up after a social media post called for an afternoon romp in the snow here at New York's Washington Square Park. Pretty quickly, NYPD responded to 911 calls of a disorderly crowd. Suddenly, the throng started aiming their snowballs at the men and women in blue. Police were taunted and pelted as they withdrew.
It is criminal. It is despicable.
Today, New York City Mayor Mamdani downplayed the incident.
I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.
But the Police Benevolent Association says the mayor's response showed a complete failure of leadership.
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a game. It was a vicious attack, an assault on two New York City police officers that landed them in the hospital. They were hit with ice chunks, rocks.
Oh yeah, you didn't know that? These animals picked up rocks and covered them in snow and then hurled them at the police, sending two cops to the hospital. And this cop-hating communist tells us it's just a bunch of kids having a friendly snowball fight with the police. I'm going to show you what that actually looks like. And go.
Not him.
Get him down to the ground! Get him on the ground! Don't want to get him! Get some more snow! Hurry up!
God, help! John!
That's a friendly snowball fight. This isn't. Cops getting pelted with snow and ice is not a snowball fight, it's assault. You see the difference between those two videos? One shows the police being assaulted, and the other actually shows them forming a bond with the community. In fact, when that real snowball fight was done, those cops went to the store and bought those little kids winter gloves because they had none.
You got plastic. Look at you got plastic gloves on. How are you gonna play in the snow with plastic gloves? All right. Put them on. Wait up, here. Blue.
And him. Like a gray.
Yep.
Like a black.
You want the black one?
Thank you. That's my mom.
That's your mom. Hi. Yeah, Mom.
That was beautiful. Those kids are going to remember that for the rest of their lives. Now, the commie was given another chance to defend his cops. Even after he learned that this attack sent two of them to the hospital, he still refused to condemn it.
So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to revise your statement regarding the snowball fight, given that this was not exactly a friendly back-and-forth snowball fight? The police that were there were not throwing any snowballs. They were getting pelted themselves. And number two, have you considered or would you consider banning these crowdsourcing events because they can and sometimes do get out of hand?
So I'm not going to be banning snowball fights or organized snowball fights. I've shared my thoughts with New Yorkers, and I continue to believe that what we are seeing in this response, this winter blizzard, from the city workers as a whole, and that includes the hardworking men and women of the NYPD, is part of why the city's getting back on its feet, and I'm appreciative of that work.
I'm not going to be banning snowball fights. He takes it right back to it being a simple snowball fight. This guy is unbelievable. Thankfully, Tish wanted these guys arrested, and we got one. And the first thing we learned is that he's not a kid. He's actually a thug with felony priors.
Police have made their first arrest following Monday's Snowball fight in Washington Square Park that left 2 NYPD officers injured. The 27-year-old suspect is charged with assault on a police officer. He was also arrested weeks ago for attempted robbery. 3 others remain on the run.
Guzman Coulibaly hid his face from photographers as he left the 6th precinct, the first of at least 4 people identified from cell phone video to face charges after Monday's melee in Washington Square Park. 2 police officers were injured and several others were covered in snow and ice. Coulibaly is 27 years old and a resident of the Bronx, charged with assaulting a police officer, disorderly conduct, and obstruction. Mayor Mamdani has insisted he saw no evidence of a crime and that no one should face charges.
I can just tell you from the video I saw, it looked like kids at a Snowball fight.
But Coulibaly is hardly a teen and was arrested earlier this month on attempted robbery and other charges in what investigators suspect was a social media stunt. It was NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tish who ordered the investigation, although it put her at odds with her boss in City Hall. A move that was praised today by the city's police union. This arrest sends a clear message that assaults on police officers cannot and will not be minimized or tolerated.
It absolutely will be tolerated because even though we got the guy, Alvin Bragg refused to prosecute him. The commie was asked if he agreed with Bragg's decision. Here's what he said.
Thank you for taking my question. Yes. What is your reaction to the downgraded charge for the suspect arrested in the snowball pelting? And what do you say to police officers who are very upset about that and very upset about the incident?
You know, I will say first and foremost that I believe that our police officers should be treated with respect. They are at the heart of delivering exactly that public safety that I was speaking about earlier. And they've also been at the heart of responding to the city's first blizzard since 2016, because police officers were not just out there continuing to do the jobs that they always do, but they also have a tow truck task force, which is one that was chiefly responsible for digging New Yorkers' cars out of the snow, of digging out ambulances, MTA buses, keeping the city moving in that manner. And for that work and everything that they do, I'm deeply appreciative. And what I've said in regards to the snowball fight is that it's a snowball fight that got out of hand, and I don't really have much more to say to it.
The charge, do you have a reaction to that?
Answer the question.
Yeah,
thank you.
You could see his little minions had to come in and save him, right? They wouldn't let him answer the question. But why should we be surprised? Not just that Alvin Bragg didn't want him prosecuted, but the commie didn't want him prosecuted either. It was just 2 weeks ago when a violent schizophrenic tried to stab a New York City police officer, and Mamdani held a press conference telling the Queens DA not to prosecute him.
Chavez has lived with schizophrenia for many years.
Immediately after the shooting, police released images of the large kitchen knife that Chakraborty allegedly used to threaten the officers.
Well, the mayor also says the man should not be prosecuted.
Chavez needs mental health treatment, not criminal prosecution by a district attorney.
So if he's not willing to prosecute criminals who are trying to stab cops, what makes you think he cares about ice and snow? These cops were being violently attacked, and he doesn't care. Because under his administration, there is no respect for the police, and he's not alone. Let me show you what happened under the Adams administration. This is when the so-called kids overtook Union Square. See if you could pay attention to what they're chanting. That was under Adams, and I could show you 100 more videos just like that that show cops being disrespected. This was under de Blasio.
A crowd in Harlem throws buckets and pours water on officers in the middle of making an arrest. In a separate incident, another video shows it happening again. Bystanders laugh and record videos, but no one helps.
Yo, they violated them! They violated them! No, they violated them! Oh, they not stopping! Oh my God!
Was that not disgusting? Now, the cops in the first part of that video, they couldn't defend themselves because they were handcuffing someone. But the rookies in the second part of that clip didn't even try. When the state Republicans tried to pass a bill to make that a felony, it was blocked by the Democrats.
Some New York Democrats, including the powerful Assembly Speaker, say they oppose making dousing police officers a felony. They say it doesn't address the real problem and is a major overreaction.
The next time your liberal friends want you to prove that Democrats are anti-cop, show them that video clip. Not only did it not get a single Democrat vote, but because Democrats had the majority, the bill could not pass. So they let it die because Democrats hate cops and love criminals. Now, what do all these incidents have in common? They all occurred under Democrat administrations because when the Democrats are in charge, respect for police goes out the window. You know, I asked a bunch of retired guys if this incident could have happened when we were on the job. They all said, no way, absolutely not. And it's not because we were better cops. It's because we had better leadership. When I came on the job in '92, everyone backed you. Everyone from the sergeant on the scene, to the lieutenant on the desk, to the CO in his office, to the chief of department, and of course, including the mayor. And if this happened during a Giuliani administration, he would have called a press conference to condemn these animals. And if we were lucky enough to catch one of them and bring them into the station house, the CO would come out and say, nice job, guys. That was the environment that we worked in, and I wish you guys today could have experienced it. We had a collar one time for a burglary. We closed out a burglary pattern. They were hitting a couple of stores. They went into a bodega. Me and my partner, we went in and we got them. Not that big of a deal, right? They called us down to Comstat. They told us, you got to dress, put on your dress uniform. You got to go to Comstat. We went to Comstat and our captain told the chief what happened. And the chief said, are the officers here today? Stand up. And they made us stand up. And everyone from all the captains to the chiefs, everyone started clapping for a burglary collar. We didn't get the Zodiac killer. We got a crackhead breaking into a store, but they all supported us. Everyone, from your sergeant to the chief of department. Do you know who this man is standing next to Giuliani? That's former chief of department Louis Anemone. He retired in 1999. Here he is explaining what should have happened after those cops were doused with water.
What you have to do with a strong command voice is say, you're under arrest, and then put your hands on him. And if you need additional help, you use your radio to call for it, or your partner will do that. But you don't ever not take action.
Chief,
you don't ever turn around and walk away from a situation like that.
We all did wonder that, but some people said because the cops in Brooklyn, they were so young, they had just gotten out of the academy, and they're walking, they're on
being taught
pins and needles.
No, if that's the case, if anyone is teaching them that, that's absolutely criminal. From the time I was an 18-year-old trainee, we were taught and we were trained. You never back down. You never turn around and walk away. You have plenty of help out there. You take the action that's required. People, heroes have worn that uniform, died in that uniform. This is a disgrace.
That was a disgrace. But isn't that refreshing to hear coming from the chief of department? This guy always backed cops. And that's the way chiefs were. They would not stand for cops being assaulted. I got another one for you. Do you know who this is? This is former chief of department Joe Esposito. Let me tell you a quick story about him. We had a protest on the Brooklyn Bridge and it went bad. A bunch of cops got hurt. You know what he did? He closed the bridge, commandeered a ton of city buses, mobilized the entire city, and had everybody locked up. In the end, we had 741 collars. He didn't care about the overtime. He didn't care what it did to traffic. He didn't care about the media. He cared about nothing other than the fact that his cops were assaulted. That's how chiefs were back when I was on the job. Now compare that to the chiefs we have today.
All right. You go back in. Everything's fine. All right, relax. Do your thing. All's good. Do your thing. We're good.
Now, I hope I'm not taking that out of context, but it looks to me, and a lot of people are telling me, that the chief was telling the thugs, we're good, do your thing, right after his cops were being assaulted. And if that's true, it's disgraceful. The bottom line is nobody backs you guys anymore. And it honestly does break my heart. And we all know why this is happening, right? A fish rots from the head down. It all starts with the mayor. And we all know this commie mayor hates cops. He actually said the NYPD creates and amplifies violence. He actually said that.
Police do not create safety. For many, many people across this city and this state, police actually create and amplify violence. And it is very important to speak about that reality that many people have, because it pushes up against the conventional understanding of police, who are seen to be people who come to resolve violence.
Is that not disgusting? He's the mayor. He also said that the NYPD needed to be defunded. Before I show you that clip, here he is lying about it.
I want to say it very clearly, because both Mr. Tilson and Andrew Cuomo's Republican billionaire donors have been lying about me on our television screens and right now. I will not defund the police. I will work with the police because I believe the police have a critical role to play in creating public service, public safety.
And here is Bill O'Reilly reading his tweet.
So here's what the guy said a few years ago. Quote, "We don't need an investigation to know the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to defund the NYPD." Okay, I mean, it doesn't get more straightforward than that.
And here's a few more tweets for you. This is on Instagram. "We can't reform our way out of a racist police system that's working exactly as designed, as a means of control over black and brown New Yorkers. We need to dramatically curtail the power and presence of the NYPD. $1 billion in cuts over 4 years is only the first step toward that goal." And this is what he put on X. It's the same tweet, but with a different banner. Look what it says. "Defund the NYPD, immediate hiring freeze," we'll get back to that in a second, "and immediate cancellation of all overtime, and cut $1 billion over 4 years just to start." And here's another one. Cuomo said, when people are saying defund the police, they are saying they want to see real fundamental change. The commie retweeted it and said, no, we want to defund the police. So he makes it very clear that he hates the NYPD. And if that wasn't enough to convince you that he hates the NYPD, here's some more clips.
Are you for defunding the police? Are you for a serious reform that people can see on the ground?
I am in favor of defunding the police.
Can you elaborate?
Yes. What that means is that right now in New York City, we have a budget of close to $6 billion for the New York City Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an astronomical figure.
Wow.
And I think that what we need to do is not chip away $1 million or $5 million. I think in this first year, we need to take $1 billion out of that budget.
You hear that? He doesn't want to just chip away $1 million here or $1 million there. He wants to take out $1 billion. And remember, according to that tweet, that's just the beginning. Now, here he is again, reminding us that police do not create safety.
The demand of $1 billion is not because that is the amount of money that will solve everything. It comes out of an understanding that policing is something that does not create safety.
Now here he is actually complaining that we're hiring too many cops.
They cut 1 out of 4 cadet classes next year. The headcount of the police department will go up next year. How we can call this a serious cut to the police is beyond me.
He's worried that the headcount of the NYPD is going to go up. So what does he do? He cancels the plan to hire the additional 5,000 cops that were already allocated for in this year's budget. But that wasn't enough. He then had to cut $22 million from the NYPD's budget. We don't have $22 million for police because the city's broke. But we have $65 million to spend on transgender surgeries for minors. You know, I'll always be proud to be a cop, and I'll always be proud to be an American. But today, I'm actually ashamed and embarrassed to be a New Yorker. I cannot believe that my fellow New Yorkers voted for this communist. But did they? When you look at who actually voted for him, you learn that it was foreign-born New Yorkers. The commie got 62% of foreigners, but only 31% of native-born Americans. And you thought illegal immigration was a problem because they were committing crimes, flooding our hospitals, and straining our welfare systems. But while we were focused on that, they were causing more damage behind the scenes. Because as Ron DeSantis put it, this election is an indictment of U.S. immigration policy. That's all I got for you on this one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying to the end. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It will motivate me to make more videos. Thank you again, and I hope to see you on the next video.
Look, I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.